point for both of these squads. The jungle, extremely important to watch as well. You know, the Kroll can come out, the Petal can be played. Reza has been seeing a bit of play as well. So there's a lot of different options that we've been seeing, and I love the 2.9 meta because while initially it was just fun because all these different picks were coming out as teams were trying things, now all these different picks are coming out because teams know that all these different picks could work.
Besides that, there's also the Churnwalker that we saw SK play a little bit. Didn't work too greatly for them, so they could play it again. For Cruel, though, comes in first pick for Fnatic. That's a very interesting one. They're trying to prioritize on getting Palmator a stronger matchup. In my opinion, that's not going to work too greatly for them just because there are many other junglers that can go up against them. There's the Alpha, there's the Petal that we see being picked up. So, Fnatic, interesting choice.
Man, SK Gaming with that Petal pick. Obviously, it is something that can be used to counter the Kroll, but it is also a flex pick. They could still end up putting that up in the lane for Kvalifar, so a lot of options available to them.
Yeah, indeed, and the Lyra ban follows right afterwards. That's a ban that says we're going to eliminate one of the available tier 1 roamers and then get the other one being the Arden. So Fnatic right here, if they don't ban it, I expect SK to pick it up. And then if Fnatic do ban the Arden, it's either going to be possibly the Churnwalker that I mentioned, or even the Lance could come out.
Catherine, another one of these heroes that can be picked up in that captain role, but you definitely expect SK to go for their captain pick with their second selection, just because you then can keep that, you know, that little bit of air of mystery around this Petal and save that counter pick for your final selection. But Fnatic definitely putting a lot of thought into this one, trying to decide, do we want to give that Arden over, or do you take it away?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, Tasty Bacon, having that flexibility is so huge for B-side in general because you want to save your last pick to counterpick the entire composition that does come out from the A-side team.
Baptiste going to be taken off the board here by Fnatic, so not wanting to prioritize that Arden, maybe thinking that they need that disengage taken off the board.
It feels to me like they wanted this Catherine pick, just because you ban away the Baptiste. Now SK isn't going to decide, okay, let's take the Catherine and hope for the Catherine-Baptiste combo. It then kind of leaves the Catherine open, but with SK taking the Grace, now all of a sudden you have Arden and Lance and the Catherine available. They go for the Lance. A little bit reliable stun on the Githian wall. If you can knock a Grace out of the ultimate, you can cancel the heal, you can cancel the Holy Novas. So a lot of strength with that Lance pick. But now they need the heavy damage to come through with their final pick on Fnatic.
Yeah, possibly Kestrel, possibly even Celeste or Scarf, something that's mage that can deal with Petal much better later on with a range advantage and can combine with the Cruel very well. It does end up being the Scarf. This is the first Scarf we see here in 2.9 actually, I believe, and it hasn't been prioritized a lot just because people are not believing in it so far. So Techno JJ going to be running that in lane.
Yeah, I think we did see it like once or
we saw it once or
maybe,
twice, yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely been a rare pick. That is definitely for sure. And I think when we did see it, it was in the jungle. But either way, the CP items changed a lot, and that kind of hurt Scarf because of Broken Myth changing a little bit. Now, SK have to decide where they want to go. I assume that the Petal will be going into jungle against that Crawl. It's just a very nice pick for them.
It could go into the jungle versus the Cruel. However, they're going to need something to dive in on the Scarf later on. If they go for the CP Petal, they need a melee laner that can dive in. Something such as the Weapon Power Aegis would be good for them. On the other hand, if they go for Weapon Power Petal and get something like an Alpha, then the dive is a lot better. Or the Reza works perfectly.
Right, Reza comes on through as the final pick for SK, so they've got that dive locked on down here. How are we feeling about the compositions? Who's going to be the first team to be really pushing that aggression?
You feel like Fnatic should be the team that is pushing the aggression because we've seen time and time again this Reza pick can get bullied very heavily in the early game. Once he gets his Aftershock, it becomes a totally different story. But if you can just punish him hard before that Aftershock, all of a sudden that power spike's not as significant.
At the same time, they do have the Scarf for the late game scaling, so they might not even feel the pressure they need to push the early game. They could play safe and just try to go for ganks around Cruel's level 6 and try to scale the Scarf.
All right, I have to ask, how important is this early game going to be when it comes down to the Elder Tree? And that's something we see teams fighting a lot for in the early game. Is this going to be a focus for both of the teams here?
I don't know if it's necessarily going to be because, like Hamza was saying, Fnatic, if things seem to go a little bit south, they're perfectly fine with just backing off and farming to late game. So I think there'll be contention over it, but it's not going to be like an all-in team fight.
I have to say, SK's composition is very reliant on diving on the Scarf, and they have a Cruel and a Lance. Fnatic do have a Cruel and a Lance to be peeling for that Scarf, so it's going to be very difficult for SK to try and execute if they don't get any mid-game advantages. That's where I'm going to be focusing on watching.
I have to say, looking at the Fnatic composition as well, this feels like kind of almost a fallback comfort composition for Fnatic. This feels very classic with the EU Scarf, as it were, coming on through. Are we expect to see a better performance than what we saw out of the semis and finals?
I mean, I would really hope so. Like you said, it's a bit of a throwback. You know, a couple years ago, it was always Scarf Kroll was the European meta. All
right, we'll see if that's going to be the case coming on through. It's time to get on into this on hashtag Vainglory8. Let us know who you are supporting. It's SK versus Fnatic, an esports classic coming on through. And it's time to get on into game number 1 and pass it to our casters.
Denominator bring you all of the EU action. Denominate, big game here for both these two teams. What are you feeling coming out of draft?
Well, coming out of the draft, we definitely have to look at that Reza pick up. It is a very aggressive mid-game pick. There's going to be a very key point where Reza is going to get that Aftershock online, and his gameplay is going to change very drastically. And now, with TechnoJJ going into lane on Scarf, it is going to be about him in the late game trying to punish the Reza for diving into the backline. A little bit of a skirmish here down in the jungle, but nothing major starting up yet.
Yeah, Nettoilet's taking the bad end of that skirmish, but he should be okay for the time being, and Fnatic will be able to push forward as a 3-man. We're going to see a fight around the Elder Treant. Have to see which team is able to land their skill shots early on. Treant goes low, Tyra's there. It's going to be secured by Palmatoro. That actually goes on towards TechnoJJ in the backline. A great Githian wall will knock Tyra's into the wall, and Fnatic should be able to retreat from this. Cavalifar not done, trampolines forward, but Palmatoro trying to rush away. Hegman with the chase. Not quite going to be able to get the knock-up, but Palmatoro will eventually fall. Githian wall comes out. Not going to be enough to save him. It's first blood over to SK.
That's a great start for SK. You know, they were talking about it on the table, is that the Reza needs to be punished early, and losing out on a first fight, definitely not the way to do so. Now, that kill did go over to Hegman, and that is important to make note of, as he is not one of the carries. He does have a little bit cheaper of a build, so that will help get the Fountain online a little bit earlier. It's going to make up for the aggressive Weapon Blade that he's already picked up for this early game to try to hold things off. So it's maybe not the most ideal target you want to get that gold on, but definitely can be helpful for your cause, as now Fnatic is rotating up, and Cavalifar on this weapon pedal, it's going to take him quite a bit of time to scale up as well, so we're not going to see a whole lot of aggression be able to come out of this pedal in the early game, but once the tornado triggers start coming through, that's definitely going to change pretty drastically.
So it feels to me like you've got Tyra's on the Reza for the mid-game. He's the one who's going to hold down the fort early on, and then later on we'll see Cavalifar really come into their own. SK don't seem to have too many weaknesses in that composition. Is there anything that Fnatic can do to actually lock them down and to shut down this SK lineup, apart from just killing Cavalifar straight away? Great impale into the goop there. Hegman's going to get chased away as well, but that's what Fnatic need to do, I guess.
Yeah, it's going to take time for the pedal and the Reza to come online. It's going to take time for Scarf as well, but you know, when you're going into a late game matchup against a Scarf, attempting to beat the Scarf out on damage is usually not the case that you come across. So Hegman in the late game going to be able to provide a bit of sustain to the team, but if they can get a Spitfire onto this pedal, they are going to force that kind of utility out very early on, and it's only going to be a matter of time before they're able to really get some damage in. Tyra's, you know, again, will have a very strong mid-game spike, but that's going to start to fall off as we get towards the late game as Kroll and Scarf come on as well. So it's going to be SK having to win out the mid game. The very early game and the very late game should be in favor of Fnatic. And now I do want to make note on what the analyst said, is Fnatic is pretty much out of the running for that world spot, but what they can do is they can deny SK points, and that's going to allow other teams to have the opportunity to get in. It's more of like a denial play at this point.
Yeah, sometimes it's just as good to be able to upset the reigning champions as it is to get the position for yourself. We did see a trade in the middle lane there, but Nettoilet is going to go down to the Githian. With the Githian wall as he gets taken out underneath the toe. That was a bit of a strong dive there from SK. Not expecting to see them go just quite that deep. TechnoJJ was waiting in the wings, but as we said, doesn't really have the damage on the Scarf yet. to harass down Cavalifar. Tyra's going to come in from the side, trying to jump on towards that Scarf, but actually jumping all the way underneath the turret will have to be forced away by those turret shots.
Yeah, Heckman, he's a little bit newer to the team, obviously coming through the second split. He's had some time with them. Obviously, Raph was the starter for them before, but he really came onto the team without a hitch. His playstyle just really fits that of Tyra's and Cavalifar, and, Tyra's a big name as well, came onto this team as kind of the unknown rookie, and really quickly made a name for himself with Cavalifar as well. Again, just kind of their playstyle meshes very, very well. And now Tyra's looking to rotate down to the shop, is going to get that Aftershock online, and this is where the spike really starts to begin for this Reza.
Yeah, having the Aftershock, this is where we need to see SK really dominate the game as well. We said their mid game is the strongest. If Fnatic get to that later game portion, they will be able to come back online with the Scarf, with the damage coming out from the Cruel as well. We already see a Fountain on net Toilette. Eve first for Techno JJ as he gets jumped on by Tyra's, just trying to keep himself alive through this harass, through this burst that comes down from SK.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely a difficult thing to have done here. Hegman taking a bit of damage, but obviously on the Grace, quite tanky enough to survive. He's not at that level 6 mark yet, so we don't have a Divine Intervention, as well as obviously, since that ability is not even up, we're nowhere near an Echo. But once we get to that, transition into the late game and the double Divine Intervention is going to be able to come out, it's going to give Cavalifar so much additional sustain, where this Weapon Power Pedal is going to be able to use the trampoline, get that additional range on the basic attacks, as well as the additional 20% weapon power as well, and can really start to blow teams up, hitting for big 300, 400, 500, 600 damage spikes. Onto a squishy character like, the Scarf, for example, that can make very short work of his health bar in no time at all. And with SK getting the lead early, it is going to be a little bit difficult for Fnatic to shut that down in the late game. They're going to be relying very heavily on Techno JJ to get the damage down.
Powersoul got caught out a little bit in the jungle there, was trading into Hegman and to Tyra's, and SK win it out in the end, but I don't think Fnatic have done just quite yet as they try and fight around the tree. It does go over to SK, so they'll be happy with that. And Palmatar and Nettoilette very much on signature champions here, signature heroes, but have yet to see that strong performance from them. Nettoilette has missed quite a few impales, his Githian walls haven't quite been on point, and you really need to have your players step up at this sort of position in the competition. If you want to shut down SK, if you want to deny them that world spot, this is where your big names, this is where your consistent players need to step up to the plate and actually show how much they're worth.
Oh, absolutely. And Fnatic, even if they win the next 2 weeks, would only be able to tie SK. And if SK gets a single point, that's not even a reality for the side of Fnatic. So this game is very much important if Fnatic wants to be able to have any sort of running whatsoever. Obviously, their performance, could influence a wildcard spot potentially. Just have to see what they're able to do. Tyrus is going in.
Yeah, Fountain was used there from Fnatic to keep himself safe. Kamataro was looking for the flank, but SK are able just to get out of that. Tyrus went all the way in with a Netherform Detonator, but it was basically ends up just being a Fountain for Fountain trade in the lane, and Fnatic comfortable enough to stay here and stay in the lane for the time being. We are starting to see a little bit more scaling from Fnatic. 8 minutes in, you've got a breaking point already finished on towards Palmato. You've got Techno JJ going back now with 2,500 gold. He'll be looking towards the Dragon's Eye as his second item. So just really trying to get this scaling, get this stacking up on towards the side of Fnatic, because SK haven't really utilized this mid-game spike as much as perhaps they would have liked to. They still have a little bit of time on it. They are on a clock, and with only 1,000 gold lead, they really need to start taking these trades and being effective in the way that they fight Fnatic.
Yeah, absolutely. Scarf is obviously going to be a hero that comes online at that, 3 or 4 item mark. Obviously, with the changes to I'm sorry, drawing a blank here for a second. The Broken Myth no longer having the immense amount of scaling that it does. It's now split up into multiple items, one of them being that Dragon's Eye. That is going to allow Scarf to ramp up his damage very quickly in the fights, but it doesn't have the natural pierce built into a single item now. It is split up into Broken Myth and that Dragon's Eye, so he does have to get multiple items online to be the damage threat that the Scarf needs to be. And again, it's going to take time. Bacon talks about it quite often, that Scarf's win rate after the 17-minute mark just it skyrockets. So that's where Fnatic is really looking for, is that 17, 18, 19 minute mark where they're able to force out the fights very early on out of the side of SK, and they very easily could take this game. They just have to make it that far, and then the positioning has to come out as well. I mean, you don't have to land your Spitfires onto the pedal or onto the Reza. If you force all of the utility out of Hegman early, then that is equally as useful because you could just get push off the back of it.
And Scarf, one of the best pushing heroes in the game as well. So easy to take down turrets if you can just get range of them. Hegman's going to step forward into Fnatic here. Not enough vision really from Fnatic to know where Tyra's is. I can actually only see one scout trap in their tri-bush and one in their mustache bush as well. So they need to be a little bit cautious as to how they do approach these next fights, because SK will be wanting to try and engage, especially onto Techno JJ. If they can make a catch, here goes Tyrus jumping in. Techno JJ gets back underneath the turret. Netherform Detonator is going to lock Tyrus down underneath that turret. The great Kithian Wall will knock him back as well into the Impale. That is blocked out, but he might die. Just out survives with the Fountain being used by Hegman and the Health Infusion being used as well. That Healing Flask. Good stun, gonna land as well as they fight on towards Hegman here. Good knockback from Net Toilet, and Hegman is caught out. Fnatic with their second kill of the game.
Yeah, Fnatic tying that one up, definitely in a good spot, but they're looking for more.
We'll get the knockback. Palmato pops his own healing fast. Tyrus can just go a little bit aggressive here because he's able to get back in on full HP, but SK seems like they're forcing fights a little bit too much. It's almost as if they can feel that World Championship, slot within their grasp, and thus they want it just ever so slightly too quickly. They're not taking opportune fights because they know if they win one or two, they're well on their way to Worlds.
Yeah, SK are in a good spot up here at the top in Europe. I believe when I was doing the calculations earlier, I think they need about 7 points over the next 2 weeks to guarantee their victory. So a good performance here could really be the start of a lot. Obviously, making it to day 2 is an opportunity to gain 6 additional points over the day 1 points. So this week could potentially be all SK needs, but we saw them drop in game 1 last weekend against G2. So they need to regroup here. Hopefully they've done their practice throughout the week and prepared themselves for getting here and trying to get these final points locked down that they need. They won every other week with the exception of last week, so definitely a team that has the skill capability of doing so, but they're up against Fnatic, and Fnatic definitely has those pockets of gameplay where if they bring their A game, they can be the best team in the league, but when it comes down to consistency, I gotta give the edge over to SK, so I think they're gonna be my favorite going into who's gonna win this matchup.
Still very close though at the moment. Only 1,000 gold in it at the 12-minute mark, and we are getting towards that 4-item scarf as well. He's already sitting the Clockwork, the Dragon's Eye, and the Eve of Harvest. 3/4 of the way there. You've got an Atlas and a Breaking Point finished on Palmato. Net has his Echo, so you can look for those double Githian walls. Kavalifar's going to go back here with 2,000 gold. I expect him to be looking towards that next crit item. Has the Tornado Trigger and the Sorrow Blade already completed, but not actually going to finish that recall once the stays clear out this way.
Yeah, definitely is a little bit of a risk. Kvalifar coming in here. He's very hurt, but again, that Divine Intervention online is going to be able to help him survive. But we see the amount of threat that a Scarf has on turrets. I mean, even with the barrier reforming on that turret, that Spitfire and Goop combination was able to tick a little bit of damage past where they were at. So out damaging that actual barrier regeneration, got the turret down very low now, and Fnatic could be looking for it now.
Yeah, good route onto Tyrus. The Goop goes down once again. Kavalifar's rejoined. He's got his second Tornado Trigger, so that Petal is going to start to hurt a huge amount more. You've got the Broken Myth as well on towards Tyrus, so he is scaling up on this Reza, but we haven't seen that impactful mid-game. Now we're getting towards the later portion, the portion where we thought perhaps Fnatic would have the advantage, and SK maybe feeling a little bit tense, maybe thinking that they need to do something soon because otherwise they miss their window in this game.
Yeah, and that's definitely, again, this is one of the most important matchups for both of these teams as far as this week goes. Whoever wins this one is able to go on and again could acquire up to 6 additional points. So there's a lot on the line with only 2 weeks left. We see the damage that Kvalifar is already starting to put out. but it's going to still take him a little bit of time. He does have the second tornado trigger online. It's going to be getting that monocle or third tornado trigger that he's really going to start to be that uncontrollable threat.
Echo finished for Hegman now as well, so looking for those double divine interventions if they do come out, looking for as much heal as possible. Hegman is going to jump onto Techno JJ, but with Net Toilet waiting in the wings, he's in a pretty good position. There is a bit of a Barney in the jungle as well as Tyras and Palmato butt heads, but neither of them is really going to take too much damage from that at all. And with it being so even, not even a turret fallen yet at the 15-minute mark, it's very reminiscent of European play in general. Over the last few weeks, we have seen a little bit more aggression, a little bit more early game from Europe, but it seems like we've reverted to the norm. It's going to be a slower game from both these two teams.
A little bit of a slow game, and that's kind of the nature of Europe. Some teams have adapted to that very aggressive playstyle, others have not. Both of them obviously right now showing they're very comfortable. The gold mine's coming through.
Taken by SK. They're not going to look for too much of a fight afterwards. Kraken does awake, of course, at that 15-minute mark. That's why SK wanted to rush that down. The From Hell's Heart not going to land. It's brother v brother, the former Team Secret pals going in on each other, but Palmato has to run away. Net Toilet now in that front line with the Githian wall. Here comes the Netherform detonation from Tyras as SK go on the aggressive, chasing down Net Toilet. Will fall. SK get their third kill of the game. And perhaps we'll look towards the Kraken as well. It's a bit of a risky one, might just go for the turret instead, but they have started up that Kraken.
Yeah, the Kraken has been started up, and they will be able to take it fairly quickly with the Reza and the Petal. But with two members of Fnatic alive, it still could be a danger. We see
Look at those
Valifar going in.
That is devastating onto Techno JJ. 518 damage time and time again. Tyra's there in that front line. Palmato's going to try and run back in, but this will be the Kraken for SK. A lot of turrets for it to work through, but SK looking like they've hit the spike they wanted, and they're starting to take the fights that they can win.
Yeah, absolutely looking for it, and now with the Kraken push, they definitely could have a opportune moment here, but we see teams time and time again get a little too aggressive when it comes to that Kraken push. So will we be able to see them, push in successfully without overextending? And that's really their whole win condition on this push. I mean, obviously with 4 turrets, they're going to be able to take the Kraken down. But if they give up an ace here, it could be a counter push coming out of Fnatic just based on their objective taking capabilities. The Kraken's already down to half. We can see the Scarf doing so much work in this scenario.
So is the Petal, though. Shredding through Palmato, who has that Atlas, but cannot get close enough. That's 3 turrets with the push, and they'll accept that, take the Kraken down eventually. But it's going to be a 4,000 gold lead, at least, for SK as they come off this. Remove a Crystal Sentry from the map as well. It's only it's the first one in the game to go down, so I don't think they'll be eliminating that completely, but a little bit of extra gold in the back pockets of SK. They'll go back, they'll buy. We'll have to see exactly how far they are ahead in terms of items when they get this. War Tread's finished on Hegman. Tyras is looking towards the Broken Myth Aftershock and the Aegis, and it's a Tyrant's Monocle, as you said, for Kavalavar. So even more crit and even more damage from him. If he can get onto Techno JJ, you're looking at 2 or 3 shots from that Petal to melt through the Scarf.
Yeah, absolutely. This is kind of the glass cannon risk-reward scenario for these heroes that build 4 offensive items. Obviously, we have Tyras building into his 3rd right now, but at the end of it, it will likely be him just going into some additional defense. So he'll get that 3rd item complete. It is the Eve of Harvest. I'm actually surprised he didn't go with the Dragon's Eye, but likely going to be working into an Atlas Pauldron to help his team slow up the attacks out of Krull, because obviously with the Krull, the more attacks he's able to get out, he can actually lower the damage coming out of Kavalavar if he's allowed to get latched onto him, and then obviously Palmatora with the Atlas Pauldron of his own can slow down those attacks as well and really be a nuisance.
Yeah, Palmatora is on Kavalavar here, looking for the From Hell's Heart. Won't connect with the stun. That's blocked out. Kavalavar gets the kill. Here's the Dragon's Breath from Techno. Can he get onto that backline? Kavalavar healing up, but the Dragon's Breath will kill him. Now he's in a 1v1 versus Tyras. Good Impale is blocked out. Double goop comes out from Techno, and Tyras will fall. It's all on Hegman. Can he take down the Scarf? He can, but he falls. It's an ace for Fnatic.
An ace for Fnatic, but with Net Toilet being the only one alive, that does make it a bit difficult for them to actually get anything off of it. With the Ace Wave, he might be able to push down this turret, but it's still going to be not really the best game they could have had. It was an incredibly close fight. Hegman fortunately was able to take down the Scarf. Otherwise, that probably would have been 2 turrets resulting for Fnatic. And Fnatic, again, when they bring their A game, they can compete with the best. They can take down the best. We saw him with a very good performance in week number 1, and it's been kind of hit or miss since then. So to see them come out big against SK, who is sitting up in that number 1 position, I'm glad to see that when it counts, they've really turned their attention onto their practice and making sure that they're ready for this matchup. And the Scarf, again, historically a pick for TechnoJJ and for a lot of Europe, and now he has his 4th item online. This is where Scarf can really start to be a massive threat with this level 12 infusion and Aegis as well.
Tyrus doesn't seem to care. He's stepping forward straight into the face of NetToilet. He's finished the Atlas Pauldrons now as well, so if they can get onto Cavalifar, they slow that attack speed so much and reduce all of the damage coming out from the Petal. But at the moment, it still looks like SK feel they are in the driver's seat. Look at the damage from Cavalifar across the wall onto Techno. Down to half already. Now he needs to retreat. All of SK trying to get away, but From Hell's Heart hits into the Impale. The root comes out, but Tyrus is just going to jump onto TechnoJJ. And now Cavalifar still alive in the backline. Tyrus down low. Palmatar trying to jump around. There's another form detonation. TechnoJJ somehow still alive. So is Cavalifar. The 2 carries jumping around. Cavalifar goes in deep, gets the kill. And now it's on NetToilet to try and do something. And Palmatar caught in the midst of SK. Should be an easy kill, but Palmato will get locked up here by SK. Eventually falls to Cavalifar. Great play by him. And SK take the 2-0 team fight win.
Yeah, and Cavalifar was actually getting bullied really well by NetToilet, but a well-timed trampoline getting him out of the danger and getting him over the wall nets him a kill onto TechnoJJ and provides him that additional safety. And now with the 2 kills on the carries, they're going to go ahead and safely start up this Kraken. They're going to take it without any contestation from NetToilet. And just like that, SK back in the driver's seat. Only 2 turrets stand between them and a victory. They were able to get 2 turrets with their last push, but will we be able to get the final 2 turrets and the Vein Crystal down with this one? It's gonna be a close one. Obviously, we saw the amount of damage the Scarf can put down onto that Kraken well before it's even at the turrets. So it'll likely just be Techno coming out to throw out some of those Spitfires, get some poke down, maybe find some damage onto the members of SK. And if he can land a Spitfire and a Goop onto Cavalifar, that's going to force a lot of utility out of Hegman very early as Tyra's cleans out some vision there. Here we go.
Kraken pushing in. Crystal sent you there as well. Cavalifar's going to trampoline across the wall. His positioning has been so good. The From Hell's Heart is blocked out. They're looking for the engage. TechnoJJ being Netherform detonated upon, and he might explode, but he somehow gets away down towards the back of the fight. Now Cavalifar's going to jump forward. It's his turn to do the damage for SK. Jumping onto NetToilet, and he gets the crits. It's another kill. They're going for the turrets as well. 1 turret plus 2 turrets will equal the game here for SK as they take down Fnatic. The Kraken's still alive. Off towards the side, TechnoJJ falls as well. Great play by SK to take the win, and Fnatic fall to a clean ace as the game ends.
And what a wild game there. SK, 2 Krakens to push it in. We're able to secure it. 1, 2, 3. The enemies fell. Turrets went down as well. Kraken helping them crash down this Vein Crystal's health. And Fnatic take a point. And this point is the most important one of the matchup, because now if even Fnatic makes a comeback and wins this entire week and wins all of next week, they can only hit a maximum of 30, and that win puts SK at 31. So they still have that wild card option, but they're guaranteed to not have a world spot based off of this autumn season.
Cannot get the #1 spot in Europe now, and that means they are out, but they can still play spoiler. G2 is still in the position to try and get that position away from SK. We're going to hand it back across towards our analysts, Munch, Irakizoro, and Tasty Baby with his newly shaved beard. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Medic and Denomine. What a way to start things off. SK managing to net themselves a victory in this series. Not the most convincing victory we've ever seen out of them. It was a very slow start to the game, but SK managed to build themselves somewhat of a macro lead to start
No,
with.
I mean, they did start very well by getting actually 1k ahead 5 minutes into the game, just off of a couple of kills and then off of stealing a few camps and out-rotating TechnoJJ and out-rotating Fnatic in general. So, good start for SK.
Yeah, it was actually a little bit surprising that SK were able to control the late game so well, because the early game was so passive, it felt like that was just playing into Fnatic's strengths, that they were going to be happy and they were going to be fine with, going down 1 or 2K without having too much fighting, because that was what their team comp was built around.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was interesting to see how this one played out. There was actually a moment in the game where Fnatic started to pull themselves back in after it looked like SK were heavily in favor.
Yeah, and this fight was really just TechnoJJ able to put on a show. They get onto Kvalifar. First of all, great job by Palmatoro to get Kvalifar so low so that Dragon's Breath could just come through and take him down. And then this 2v2, but realistically the 1v1 of the TechnoJJ going up against Tyres and able to take down that Reza was really impressive.
I mean, that was also one of the later team fights in the game, 18 minutes into the game. Scarf had his Dragon's Eye, he had his Broken Myth, the Clockwork on top of the Eve. So the fact that SK was one of the only team fights they did not dive onto the Scarf and try to focus him down, that allowed the Scarf to ramp up his damage and then clear out with his ultimate. That was the main reason why they lost that team fight.
Absolutely. And then a couple of minutes later, SK managed to climb back on the horse and they managed to grab themselves a double kill.
Yeah, and able to get themselves into the jungle again, just putting pressure onto TechnoJJ. This is something they did constantly, where they would get so much pressure on TechnoJJ, he'd have to back off, that by the time the Kroll and the Lance could engage, TechnoJJ was already so far removed from the fight that he couldn't have the level of impact that was necessary.
Exactly. I mean, this was a different team fight. This time, SK tried very heavily to focus onto the Scarf, and before the replay even played, Kvalifar did a great play damaging the Scarf over the wall, getting him down below half before the team fight even started. And then Fnatic seemed to have a very hard, difficult time sticking to the Scarf, peeling for him, focusing the targets that were trying to take him down instead of chasing kills.
And that's the thing when you run a composition with something like a Scarf, is you have to be able to protect that carry. And then we saw SK grab themselves a Kraken, and then we saw them push that one home into the base.
Yeah, I mean, and this one was very later on. It actually played off just perfectly for SK because they're pushing in with the Kraken very healthy 21 minutes into the game, and they don't even have to dive on the Scarf. They deal a little bit of damage, it forces him back. Now they can focus on the front line. Great Crucible there, by the way, from Hegman blocking the Kithian wall to locking down multiple targets. So as you can see, they focus the front line, and Lance is not the tankiest of frontliners. When he is the only one tanking, especially if he has a build where the only defense he has is the Alice and the Fountain besides the War Treads, he's not going to be very tanky.
The other thing I loved about that fight was the fact that Kvalifar jumps in, uses this attack range of Petal to get just that little bit of pressure, like you said, onto TechnoJJ, forces him away. Then the team tries to engage. They actually locked down the Petal for a pretty lengthy amount of time. From Hell's Heart and Githian Wall stunned him up. But once TechnoJJ tried to move back in, all of a sudden you have Reza from Tyres jumping onto him and forcing him right back out. So it's just a very difficult time for TechnoJJ to really be able to get into these fights and stay in them.
Yeah, it's really important that your team can survive a long time during those fights if you're on that Scarf, and that wasn't really the case in this game. As we mentioned before, the tankiness not really there for the side of Fnatic. Let's talk about the upcoming game in this series now. We didn't really see that same aggression that we've been seeing coming out of these two teams when they've been dominant in the past. Do we feel like that's a matter of this patch? What do we feel like is the course of that in this game?
I do think it was the compositions mainly, because neither teams really wanted to push it. While they had certain advantages and certain power spikes that they could have pushed and tried to play aggressive with, both teams felt comfortable enough to just scale, because SK had the Petal, who scales very well into the late game, and the Reza, and then obviously Grace, and then Fnatic had the Scarf, so just both teams felt comfortable enough to let it stall out with their compositions.
Yeah, just quite happy to play that one for the late game and make sure that they're not throwing anything away early on in the match. We're about ready to jump on into this next draft. What do we expect to see? Obviously, we mentioned Black Feather Rhyme. They were the first bans of this series. Does anything need to be targeted here?
I don't think anything necessarily needs to be targeted. We're likely to see something different because I don't really see SK going for that Kroll first pick. So things are going to be changed up a bit just because of that. Fnatic with the Black Feather ban from SK, you have to assume, is going to go for this Rhyme ban. Otherwise, giving that over to Tyres just does not seem like a very safe idea.
Yeah, it's also about how you execute, because last game, the team fight or the game actually turned around when SK caught Neta out of position around 15 minutes, and they got a Kraken, they got the first 3 turrets with it, and they gained a 5k gold lead. So it's about how you position, how you don't split away from your team. Fnatic failed to do that last game, so more importantly than the draft, they need to play it really well.
Really interesting that SK immediately go for this Petal pick, putting a lot of emphasis on it. adapting to what maybe some of the North American teams are running. We've seen both Cloud9 and Tribe in NA putting a lot of emphasis on the pedal. SK feeling like that is going to be their key to success.
Yeah, I mean, one of the traditional counter picks have been an NA for the pedal that works really well against it is the Adagio power, something we don't see in Europe. So not having that counter pick available to European teams makes the pedal a more attractive pick in general.
Catherine going to be the selection for Fnatic, making sure that they keep their options open for their other two picks. They want to focus on that captain. This is something we've been seeing a fair bit of these last couple of weeks. A lot of emphasis on getting a captain and trying to ban away a couple of the others. So Arden taken off the board, but again, SK, they're more than happy to play the Grace. So I don't know if this is necessarily the best of strategies for Fnatic.
Not only that, but they prioritized Lyra over Grace last game, banning the Lyra, then picking the Grace. So Lyra is still open for them. They could pick it. The Batiste ban does come through. That's very standard. Once Catherine has been picked up, you don't want to go up against that duo. It's too dangerous.
Yeah, it certainly is. You never want to go into that CC lockdown that comes out from those AoE ultimates in that combination, but it's going to be the Kestrel locked in here. I'd assume for Techno JJ, but we have seen the odd CP Kestrel every now and then going into the jungle, but honestly, Weapon Power Kestrel, one of the best carries in the game.
I do prefer this pick over the Scarf into the pedal in general, and not only into the pedal, but also in general, just because it's a lot more reliable. Weapon Power carries have been a lot more reliable than the mages for a few updates now, and that's due to how easy to output your damage in comparison to landing so many skill shots. On top of that, Weapon Power seems to be doing a lot better in 2.9 anyway.
And not only that, but you have that range from the Glimmer shots to try and put pressure onto this pedal, who you know is going to get that increased range as the game goes on. Has one of the longest attack ranges in the game, so you need something that can try and compete with that. Kestrel is one of those options. So now SK, again, when you look at what they have available, there's so much that can come out, because they could still flex that pedal into the jungle if they really wanted to. I don't think it's going to happen, but they go ahead and grab themselves the Lance to go along with the pedal. And now you got to figure maybe something that's going to be one of these bruiser type of CP junglers coming out for Tyrus.
Yeah, that's very surprising that they pick up the Lance over the Lyra. Perhaps it's something that they want to do just to keep Catherine away from their carries. When she tries to goes in with Merciless Pursuit, you can Kithian wall her away and even stun her, possibly.
It's also a comfort pick for Hegman, right? We've seen him play a lot of Lance over the weeks. We've seen him have a lot of success on that Lance as well. His double Kithian walls and things like that. Reza going to be the jungle pickup here for SK Gaming, so Petal will be going into
if it ain't broken, don't change it, right? The same composition as the first game. They won with it. They did very good. It seemed they had a clear idea of how to execute, with the exception of that one team fight, so SK looking good.
Yeah, they did change it a little bit. They took the Lance instead of the Grace, so we'll see if not having that big heal could be a factor. I really like the Grace going in with the Reza, but now with the Koshka instead, Fnatic, they really have a chance to try and abuse this Reza, which they didn't do last game.
We saw Fnatic use this Koshka last weekend in their quarterfinal, or it might have been even the week before, but they were playing much more aggressive. They were really making moves with this Koshka. Are we going to see this aggressive Fnatic again? Is that what we have to see here?
I hope to see. That is what we have to see, because going up against the Petal, that's a very strong late game hero as well. And with the Kestrel, you have the tools to pressure multiple points. They need to coordinate their aggression if they do go for it. Pushing the lane with the Kestrel as well as pushing the jungle with the Koshka means they can't get out-rotated and they can't get a team fight that they don't have a numbers advantage in. Petal rotating and helping the Reza could be a threat.
You also have to be aggressive with a Koshka, because if you are not aggressive with Koshka, she's not going to have an impact in the late game. But I love the Koshka paired with the Catherine, actually, because now you have the Blast Tremors coming out. If you silence target, they can't reflex block the Yummy Cat and Frenzy. If they block the Blast Tremor, you get an Echo. Second one comes through. If that's blocked, you're out of reflex blocks anyway. So it's really kind of putting a lot of pressure onto Palmotoro to be able to use these abilities effectively to try and lock down a target, most likely going to be the Petal.
Absolutely. Very excited for this lane matchup as well. Petal going up against the Kestrel here. How are we feeling this one's going to go? Because these are our two players to watch, remember.
I mean, it can go either way, especially if Petal positions herself behind the minions, so it's on the players how they play it.
All right, so definitely a skill matchup. We'll see who can best their opponent. Hashtag Vainglory8. Let us know who you think is going to be taking that lane matchup and whether you think SK can finish off this series 2-0. It's time to pass it back to Medic and Denominate and get into game 2.
Thank you very much, Munch. I am Medic. I'm joined by Denominate, and we are here for the second game of this series. SK just one game away from going through to the matches tomorrow. Once again, Fnatic still trying to play spoiler, trying to do something against some of their former teammates.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely going to be quite a bit of rivalry there as well. So we'll have to see, you know, again, SK is up a single game, but it's not over. This is a best of 3. And despite Fnatic losing out on that last game, they actually had a really good performance when I think SK had the better composition through that mid-game where they really started to push. And, you know, Scarf did make it to his 4-item build, but was never really able to find damage consistently onto a single target. It was always hitting multiple enemies, as now there is a little bit of a tussle here over the Elder Treant. Obviously, this Koshka hitting level 2 with 2 crystal bits has a lot of damage spike potential, as well as a lot of chase, and I think that's just going to be a free Treant going over to Fnatic, and that one's going to go on to TechnoJJ, making sure that he has health and energy when he comes up to the lane here to get his farm.
Eggman is here just to try and contest anything happening in the lane. The Impale doesn't hit, but Kvalifi's okay, just farming up as much as he can. Something that Kvalifi's traditionally done incredibly well is keep those CS numbers nice and high. And I think in the last game it was about 210 at the 20-minute mark, which is pretty devastating when you're playing against something like a Petal that needs to scale up and needs to get that gold for the items as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and that's, you know, one of the benefits of the lane. There is a substantial amount of gold in the lane, but there is slightly more experience in the jungle, which is why it's key for certain heroes to be jungle picks and certain heroes to be lane picks. Obviously, the heroes that capitalize the most off of their level advantage can excel very well in the jungle. You know, for quite some time, we saw the Celeste in the jungle, you know, specifically because she'd hit that level 8 mark sooner. She'd be able to get the extended range on the Heliogenesis. And now it's Palmatoro getting some good damage down onto Hegman, but not the squishiest of targets, so he's going to be able to make it out alive. And Fnatic now, they're going to go ahead and get themselves a second Treant, as TechnoJJ doing a great job trying to use his advantage early and push up the lane.
Kvalifi's going to jump onto Techno here with the Impale landing, but Kvalifi takes the bad side of that trade. Active camo used from Techno, just needs one more auto and a glimmer. Can't quite get it out. Kvalifi will be able to get back behind the turret. Palmatoro's like, excuse me, I'm not going to let you get away. And he even just dives straight onto Hegman and takes him out. It's a great first blood for Fnatic, and they can look to push this wave into the turret as well, even get some damage down onto this turret incredibly early on. Net2Elect is looking for Kvalifi, does get him in with the trampoline. It's another kill for Fnatic. Great play by them. They're going to get a turret at 3 minutes in. Tyrus trying to do what he can, but he's in a 1v3 situation. Net2Elect running off towards the side here as Tyrus chases him down. He will get the counter kill. Palmatoro perhaps a little bit overextended as SK try and turn this early game around in their favor. But 2 members of Fnatic get out, and they get out with 1,500 gold lead.
And Fnatic, they did lose out on Net2Elect, but if you're going to lose out on anybody, the captain is the one you want to do so on. Tyrus does come in and get that 1 kill, as well as gets a little bit of jungle as well, now looking for a Elder Treant of his own. But, you know, that was one of the important things is TechnoJJ did get Kvalifar very, very low on health in the lane. He didn't have to secure the kill. He just had to make it risky enough for Kvalifar to try to defend, and that's exactly what happened. Palmatoro went in, found the kill quickly onto Hegman. This Koshka does so much damage in the early game. And then, because Kvalifar stuck around, he tried to use his range to farm up the wave from behind the turret. It was only a matter of time before Net2Elect popped that Merciless Pursuit, chased him down. Once the stun was out, popped that Storm Guard, and got that ticking damage and a basic attack down. They found 2 and that turret. And getting the first objective down in under 4 minutes is huge for what Fnatic has going on for him.
Oh, definitely. We said that they need to have this early game. They need to get rolling, especially Palmatoro on this Koshka, who's done a lot of work. Even looking for the flank here. Jumps onto Kvalifar, who trampolines away, but Palmatoro's so low. The fountain isn't enough to heal him up, and now the Netherform detonating onto Net2Elect. He's going to be sacrificed. TechnoJJ, the only member of Fnatic to escape, and a great turnaround by SK.
Yeah, SK found a open window there, and they jumped right on through it, finding quick damage onto Palmatoro and put him in the grave. And now, with TechnoJJ all alone here in the lane against a composition that has a lot of dive and lockdown potential, he just kind of has to watch as SK take his turret in return. And just like that, SK even everything up. Objective advantage gone, and that gold lead that Fnatic just had, seconds ago, is already evened up.
I love the pace of this game compared to the last one as well. Last time it was 18 minutes before we saw a turret go down. Now we've got 2 within the first 5 and a kill a minute as well. Both these teams coming out fighting, coming out swinging early on in this matchup. Aftershock has just been completed on Tyrus. He'll want to use that as effectively as possible. Palmatoro not quite there yet. He's got the Eclipse Prism and the Heavy Prism, though, sitting in his inventory.
Yeah, Palmatoro might even be going for a Shattered Glass first, thanks to the changes on health and defense. Petal, a very, very squishy target, actually, to the amount of burst that Akashka can put out. And thanks to her CP ratios, I think into a Petal who you want to dive on and get multiple empowered attacks down on, it is probably more favorable to go with the Shattered Glass over the Aftershock. Now, the one benefit you do lose out on is the Aftershock gives you a little bit of cooldown regeneration, as well as energy regeneration, so definitely has its use as well. And at level 7, Palmatoro does have that Yummy Catnip Frenzy ready to go, and it's going to be interesting to see what target he ends up going for, as Tyra's sneaky little Reza there comes in, steals that farm away that Palmatoro was trying to take out of his own jungle. And now it's going to be Fnatic looking for another fight. They have to capitalize as early as they can with this Kashka. A reflex block is already out on Tyras and Cavalifar, so it's going to make timing that ability all the more needed. They could even chain it up with a Merciless Pursuit, try to bait out that reflex block so that we can get the longer duration stun that is that Yummy Catnip Frenzy at 2.2 seconds. And if you get locked up by a Kashka ult, you're pretty much dead to rights.
Especially when you've got something like a Kestrel there to chase it in as well. Hagman gets a bit of poke onto Net Toilet, but the teams have evened out the score pretty much here. It's about 500 gold lead for Fnatic, but we saw them have a little gold lead in the last game as well, and they weren't able to utilize it too effectively between about the 10 and the 15 minute mark. SK coming out at the end of that game with the lead. Tyrant's Monocle now finished onto TechnoJJ. He's at 2 items, one shot, 1 kill, will not hit Hegman. Looking for a bit of poke, perhaps setting up a gold miner play there, but unable to connect onto the Lance, who is quite slippery even before level 6.
Yeah, Lance definitely has a lot of opportunity to make it over walls. He can use that Impale or the Combat Roller when he hits level 6, as well as the Petal with the Trampoline and the Reza with the Troublemaker and or Nether Form Detonator, just depending on the situation. All of these heroes are very good at escaping when they're in a kind of tough cornered situation. But now as Tyra has hit level 8, he has that Troublemaker overdriven, and here we go, Hegman's taking a lot.
Jumping in, Tyrus does get stunned up with the active camo though, and Fnatic able to turn away from Hegman, who went for the engage originally. Palmatoro dodging around the side, looking to see if he can jump in onto one of the members of SK. Still reflex box available for all 3 of them, so needs something first before he can actually engage with the Yummy Catnip Frenzy. Good Impale comes out, good Githian Wall as well, but the Fountain is used. Netherform Detonator, the jump in from Tyrus, that's a counter Fountain from SK. They're going to try and turn this one back around as Fnatic look for the glimmers across the wall. They can't quite connect, and Matoro does still have the Yummy Catnip Frenzy, but still only reflex block used on Hegman. SK keeping their defenses up, keeping their safety in those reflex blocks.
Yeah, Palmatoro did end up going for the Aftershock first. Again, it can be nice with the cooldown as well as the burst damage. In this patch, I'm a little concerned on it into the squishy targets, where as a Kashka, you're going to want to continuously keep the burst up. We'll have to see if he's able to utilize that ability properly, or the item properly, as now they're starting up the gold mine, and they should be able to take it uncontested here. Hegman might be able to make a miracle steal. He's coming in.
Doesn't quite get it, but they're looking for Net to let a good Impale. There goes the healing fast. Jump in by Tyrus. He might go down, but the Netherform Detonator is going to land him straight on a scout trap. Taken out by the Yummy Catnip Frenzy. Cavalifar here in time to trade it in a 1-for-1. Great Githian Wall onto TechnoJJ. Cavalifar will get a double here. 2 kills go to SK, and they'll take away a Treant as well. They did lose the gold mine. Hegman trying to chase here. Net Toilet with a good back positioning. Then realizes he's been spotted out by those Munions, and now needs to try and get away from SK. The Crystal Sentry helping him out quite a lot. And SK will realize they cannot take this 2v2 with the Crystal Sentry helping out. There's so much damage. Eventually falls. SK get out with their lives.
Yeah, that sentry does do a lot of work in the early game, and I actually would have liked to see Netwillet come in a little bit sooner. He had energy for Merciless Pursuit and for that Storm Guard, but instead he used a lot of time running around trying to get out safely when he was actually quite healthy. That could have been an opportunity for them, maybe not to get a kill with the Crystal Sentry, but if they could have got a little bit more damage down with Techno JJ and Palmator coming back alive, they could have taken that opportunity where the enemies were on low health and they were stopping recalls to pick up some extra kills and possibly get another advantage as well that, you know, could push a jungle rotation off the back of it, could push up in the lane. Obviously, this Kestrel with 3 offensive items can obliterate turrets, and Techno JJ's build's not done either. He'll likely go into a Tornado Trigger or a Bonesaw for a 4th offensive item, and then we'll rely on just a either a Metal Jacket or a Aegis for his defense, and into a Lance, I'm going to have to lean towards the Aegis.
Totally agree with you. I think the Aegis makes a lot more sense. Speaking of Hegman, he has now got the Crucible and the Fountain picked up, so we'll try and protect his team from those Blast Tremors, from those Yummy Cabinet Frenzies if they do come in. Basically, reflex blocks across the board for SK. Good early pickup playing into this Fnatic lineup that we said needed to snowball, needed to get that early advantage. They have a little bit of one. It's 1,000 gold, but is that substantial enough? Is that enough to deal with this weapon power petal, to deal with Tyrus, who has been so effective on this Reza as well? Once again, he's gone Broken Myth, 2nd item on Reza. Looking for that penetration of the shield of Fnatic.
Yeah, and we might have a little bit of a gold lead for the side of Fnatic, but if we look at the kills, the fights have not been going that way. Fnatic has been able to find jungle camps as well as that gold mine as well, and that's their only gold lead at this point. It's been constantly SK winning out on these fights, and they're looking for another one.
Stunned out of Impale, good getting wall from Hegman, but he's already dead. The crit's coming out from Techno JJ. Netwillet Blast comes back. There's the Yummy Cabinet Frenzy. He lands onto Tyrus. It's a double for Techno JJ, and Cavalifar is 1v2, but he's got so much damage. He's got so many crits. Palmator jumping in, jumping out, trying to dodge around the active camo. And Techno JJ getting him closer to Cavalifar, but not quite close enough to make the snipe. Palmator trying to kill Cavalifar, can't do it once again, and Cavalifar somehow survives in this backline. Techno JJ is going to try and clear out the turret with those glimmers. But Cavalifar should be able to keep it alive for the time being.
But he got a lot of damage down and actually almost killed Cavalifar with the push through on that ability. And now Techno JJ might go down here.
Yeah, active camo almost takes out Cavalifar. That's sub 10 HP. But Cavalifar somehow survives at the end of it. And again, in the end, the fight goes in favor of SK. They get a 3 for 2 in that extended trade.
Yeah, 3 for 2, but again, Techno JJ did get a lot of damage down on that turret, and losing out on a life, you will respawn. That turret will not. So it's easily within the pushing power of Fnatic now that they could, if they get any opportunity where the minions are pushed up, 1 or 2 glimmer shots may be able to go ahead and take that one down. And with that amount of time, if all 3 members of SK aren't in the lane trying to defend that turret, they likely would not be able to actually get kills off the back of it either. So it's going to depend on the positioning of Tyraz and Hegman, who have done a great job in the fights. However, Tyraz did miss the Yummy Cabinet Frenzy block in that last fight, which cost him his life. If they would have blocked up that ability, it likely would have been different. It likely would have been SK taking the whole fight with only the casualty on the Hegman.
Let's quickly evaluate where we are with builds here as well, Denominate. Actually, Tyrus does get jumped on by Palmator, but dodges out. Yummy Cabinet Frenzy is still available. We'll wait for this fight to continue. The Crucible blocked out by the Blast Tremor. Palmator killed by Cavalifar, and now Netwillet is running for the wins. Just about escapes, but Techno JJ cannot get away from Tyrus. They're looking for the dive. That's another kill. SK on the chase, looking for a clean ace. They get it, and SK once again show why they're #1 in Europe.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, you line him up and SK takes them down. That was beautiful timing out of Tyraz there. Cavalifar was exchanging quite a bit of poke with Techno JJ, and it was kind of an even trade. You know, it was Cavalifar hitting a couple 400 damage hits with his basic attacks, but Techno JJ was able to return a 600 damage on his Glimmer Shot, and then as Techno JJ got low, Tyraz took the opportunity and used a Troublemaker to get into position, dropped the Netherform Detonator, was able to get 1, and then it was a matter of time. They were able to chase down Palmatoro and eventually Netwillet. And it is another fight going over to SK as they lead 11-5 and have now worked the gold lead back into their favor. They took a gold mine. They took down the second turret as well. And Fnatic is looking like maybe like they're playing a little bit on the back foot, as TechnoJJ now working into that bone saw is going to be able to work through Tyra's armor, but that's a lot of armor already prioritized from Tyra's. He's able to get into these fights very safely, and Nettoilette is not really having the effect we hope out of a Catherine, because Hegman has done such a good job blocking up that Blast Tremor. And now it looks like we might be looking for another fight here as SK up here in the lane. Here we go, Medic.
Hangman jumps in, double Githian wall, double stun comes out, using the Echo as well, but already he's dead. Didn't even have time to use Fountain or Crucible. Now Fnatic are in a 3v2. Netherform detonator onto Palmatoro to try and take him out. Look at the dive, look at the kills coming out here from Fnatic. They're looking for an ace of their own and they get it. It's clean as well. Somehow Palmatoro survives and Fnatic somehow turn around that fight.
Palmatoro living on the edge there. Minimal amount of health, able to come through on the end as TechnoJJ with the damage, helping secure Kvalifar when he got locked up by that yummy catnip frenzy. Again, we have to see that ability get blocked. If you get locked up for 2.5 seconds while you have a Kestrel raining those arrows into your face, it's not going to work out well for you at any given time. That's a Kraken now for Fnatic. TechnoJJ was able to rotate into the lane, did take that second turret down, which was already quite wounded from his last interaction with it. And now Fnatic looking to come up into the lane here. It is level 12 for TechnoJJ and Palmatoro. Nettoilette sitting down here at level 9. But we have infusions on all 3 members, which is going to give Catherine a little bit of additional cooldown that Hegman on this Lance just does not have.
Kvalifar still doing so much work. TechnoJJ gets the active camo, and once again, Hegman's dead before he even uses his Fountain. Palmatoro gets the Fountain out, jumps back onto Kvalifar, trying to take down his former teammate, the stun lock, but eventually he falls. Now it's TechnoJJ and Nettoilette versus the 2 carries of SK. Tyras and Kvalifar trying to turn this one around. They get the kill. It's only Nettoilette, only the captain left alive. He'll have to run for the hills. Tyras with the chase should be able to take him down, trying to kite him over the scout traps. Turns it back around. Nettoilette, you absolute beauty, gets the kill with the help of a scout trap, and he can actually push in with this Kraken just a bit. Kvalifar should be able to take it down relatively quickly with the pestle, but I'm sure Nettoilette will try and clear out as many of these scouts as possible.
Absolutely, but that play coming out of SK likely saved them the game. It did bait out a lot of time out of the side of Fnatic. Tyras eventually chases a little bit too far, and as you mentioned, gets stunned up on that scout trap, taking his life. But they protect their 2 Vayne Crystal turrets, and that is SK holding on to this game as much as they can. They still have the kill lead, but these last 2 fights have looked... the second to last fight was barely Fnatic scraping by, and then obviously that last fight particularly was a very even one as well. And Kvalifar now completing this Tyrant's monocle is going to have quite an absurd amount of damage as he's caught up in his build with TechnoJJ. But he also has the Aegis complete. TechnoJJ does not. It's actually still about 600 gold shy of completing that item. And Tyras as well has that Metal Jacket complete and that Aegis, so he has quite a bit of defense built as well. And now SK looking for a caught out Kachka.
Yeah, Palmatoro dies before he can even get to his team. The Stunlock is going to come down. TechnoJJ trying to do what he can, but look at the crit! Almost dead to that final one. 553 damage. Tyras chases in with a Netherform Detonator. It's a double kill for him. And they'll lock up Nettoilette as well. SK with a triple kill. Great play by them. Great catch. And they'll get this turret as well.
Yeah, they'll get this turret as well, and it was just a little bit of an unfortunate situation for Fnatic. Palmatoro got caught out a little bit in the jungle there. He didn't have any minions to pounce to. He didn't have anything that he could damage to get that natural speed boost. He actually popped the reflex block looking for blocking up that impale, which he did so gracefully. But off the back of that ace, I think SK just close out this series as a 2-1 victory. Now sitting up at 32 points and moving on to day number 2.
Yeah, SK clean sweeping Fnatic there at the end, 2-0. Some great games by them, waited for their spikes, waited for the late game, were able to play around it incredibly well, and some incredibly close team fights as well. Basically slivers of HP that we saw these guys surviving on.
Yeah, it was quite back and forth for a while. One team would find an ace, the other team would find an ace, but in the end, it's SK that pushed down 3 turrets off the back of a very quick ace at that. You know, that's one of the benefits of getting a quick ace is all of the death timers are going to be equally as long at least, whereas staggering the death timers can have its use as well. On an end game push, you obviously want all enemies dead for as long as you can, and SK, with a great performance again on this weapon power pedal, are able to take that one.
Okay, so for a moment, I'm going to hand it back across towards our desk. Munch, take it away.
Thank you very much. A quick 2-0